it is. Call to order. I now call the June 11th, 2025 Building Standard Commission meeting to order. Citizens are permitted to address the Building Standard Commission with regard to matters posted for consideration on the agenda. Each speaker must complete a request to speak form and give it to the city secretary. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers requiring a translator will have 6 minutes, regardless of the number of agenda items to be addressed. Comments or discussion by the Building Standard Commission will only be made at the time the subject is scheduled for consideration. This time we'll open to public comment. City Secretary, do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
No, Chair, we do not.
Okay. At this time, we'll close the public comment. Consideration of and action of approval of the minutes of the City of Sugar Land Building Standard Commission meeting on February 12th, 2025. All the members have it in front of you. Does anyone have any corrections?
No. No.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion from.
I make a motion to approve it.
Okay. And do I hear a second? And we have a second.
I made the motion, Ravi.
And this is Alyssa. What's your last name? Still Gomez? Gomez. Want to make sure you, so, is there any discussion on those? So, no discussion. And we need a vote on the minutes. Everybody approve of the minutes? Raise your hand. All in favor? Minutes approved. Commission will hear the following case to determine if the property is a public nuisance and dangerous building under City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 3, Article 12, Section 3-190. For the property located at 2627 Ferry Landing, the Highlands, Section 1, Block 4, Lot 83-84. Go ahead, staff. Do we have make a presentation?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth in this proceeding?
Is it everyone?
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else?
This is why she's the attorney. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth in this proceeding under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Okay. I know when the public hearing, the staff may proceed with its presentation.
Thank you very much. So tonight we're here to talk about 2627 Ferry Landing. So a little bit of information on that property. It is in the Highlands HOA. And it was deemed a dangerous structure after we conducted an inspection on May 14th of this year. So there are multiple violations of our Code of Ordinances as well as the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code. So we, went out and did a series of inspections at the property. We have determined that CenterPoint disconnected electrical service at the property since March of 23. Water service, which is obtained through the city, was disconnected in November of 22. And we do have, through a title report, identified 3 separately filed liens by the Highlands HOA, totaling $2,690.17. We also wanted to provide some context regarding the current Fort Bend Central Appraisal District valuation of 2627 Ferry Landing. So the property owner died in 2021. So to date, that has not been probated. We obtained a title report just to make sure we identified all properties that hold any interest in the property. So nothing has been probated. Following that owner's death, we have had ongoing code violations since October of 22, during which time we identified unhealthy conditions, broken windows that November, more broken windows. You'll see in the photos, there's a lot of different areas of the structure that's been boarded up. And then high grass and broken fence pickets. In 24, we found unhealthy conditions multiple times, series of issues at the property, obviously, because it's unoccupied and not being actively maintained. Now, since the property owner's death, there were various family members that resided at the property that have kind of been, here and there, a point of contact. But again, nothing has been probated, so legally they are not, we can't write them a citation for lack of maintenance at that property. So in December of '24, we investigated a complaint regarding an unsanitary and unsafe exterior violation on the property. We did find a tree had fallen over onto the roof of that structure. So we issued a series of violations, notices of violation, but again, finding a responsible party is challenging when the owner is deceased and there is no, the property is not a probate. So in January, we conducted re-inspections, found that violation still existed. In March, we conducted re-inspections, the violation still existed. We issued a final notice at that point in time. And then in April, at the beginning of April, the Director of Public Works, and myself and Ms. Green went out to the property and did an inspection there because we did have an upcoming event called Lend a Hand Sugarland, where it's the community comes together and helps. So we had identified this as a property that we wanted to go out and send volunteers and staff to go clean up and do some abatement work. On April 11th, we did get a warrant so that we could do that code abatement work at the property. And then the following day, we executed that warrant so that we sent in staff and volunteers and did as much cleanup of the site as we could. Obviously, they were not going to be able to pull an entire tree off of the roof line, but we did do a lot of cleanup around the property. On the 25th, again, we went back out to the property and to look at it because at that point in time, we hadn't brought in the building department yet. So we wanted to bring them in to take a look at the property on May 13th. We did get a warrant to enter the property. And then on the 14th, we executed that warrant. So you'll see photos from that inspection date where we actually went into the structure to take a look at what the conditions were inside, just based on the exterior conditions. On May 21st, we did publish public notice of this BSC hearing as required. And then on the 22nd, the BSC hearing was actually posted on site as well. So there's a series of notifications that we have to go through ahead of any kind of public meeting before the Building Standards Commission. And so we went through that process. So this is quite a lengthy list, but we wanted to make sure the commissioners all knew what all violations exist at the property right now. So we have under the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code, we have section 302.1, which is exterior property and premises being maintained. 302.7, which has to do with accessory structures, including fences. 304.7, which is the roof being maintained. 304.2, which is exterior surfaces, all being maintained in good condition. 304.6, exterior walls being maintained. 305.1, which is the interior of the structure shall be maintained sound and in good repair. 304.5, you'll see photos of the foundation, which Joshua Doyle will talk through. And with that, I will hand it over to our deputy building official so that he can speak to you about the violations some more.
Good evening. Before we get into the slides of what we actually saw while serving the warrant, we will start with what constitutes a dangerous building per our ordinance. And these are the ones that we selected for this property, which meet the definition of what we've seen on site per our visits. The first one being an improperly distributed load upon the roof. That is apparent from the tree falling onto the house, which constitutes this one defining it as a dangerous building. The next one being damage by the wind. So again, this tree was caused by the storm, the wind damage, which blew it over and still sitting on the house at this time, which is causing dangerous to life, safety, morals, general health of the building. The next one, the dilapidation or decay or unsafe or unsanitary condition. Now, this is caused by a couple instances, not just the tree. The tree is the major one, but also the fact that now we've actually penetrated the roof structure itself, which is now allowing water and moisture into the house. Also, you'll see from, well, actually, I don't think we have photos of this, but there was signs that rodents, pests are now living in the house from the feces we've seen throughout the house, which is also signs of unsanitary conditions, but also the electricity being disconnected since 2023, which means we have no ventilation, we have no air movement in there. So all these combined together are now creating what you can imagine could be a very a key environment for, let's say, mold growth, anything like that, very unsafe conditions. The next one being light, air, or sanitation. Again, this one without the electricity, the HVAC system's not working, which is, in this case, is the biggest cause for concern, because without that ventilation, without that air movement to help alleviate some of the humidity with the moisture getting into the house now, that is a cause for major concern in this house, especially with what you'll see from the photos is that there was quite a bit of stuff that the homeowner had left behind. That, again, with the moisture, with the rodents being in there, you're going to see the environment to which now exists in this property. The last one being that 2 or more of these violations exist on this property. So now we'll get into the photos. What you'll see is that throughout the house on the exterior, we have multiple windows, multiple doors that have been boarded up due to the windows and doors being broken. The picture on the left, we will have a better shot later in the presentation. But when we get to that one, it will show that you're actually starting to get a separation of the roof line, which is showing that the house itself is starting to separate and sink. There will be some pictures on here from exterior facades showing a deterioration of the wood. This one really isn't the best example, but here is where the important slides start to show up. What you're seeing is a separation of brick from the framing members. That is key because, remember, these are brick facades. The brick itself is not structural. The structure is the framing members. That is key to understand because whenever you start getting that separation, that's telling us that the house is starting to move separate from the facade, which is, again, a sign that the house itself is starting to sink, break away. Here, again, these are signs. This is evidence of the broken windows, which have been boarded up. The circle shows a split in the brick, but we'll have a better shot of this on another slide. This one right here is, again, the rear door and rear windows of the house that have been broken, both of these, and have been boarded up. Now, here's the key photos. The first one on the left is the electrical service. Again, from our information from CenterPoint, we are aware that the power has been disconnected since 2023. The picture on the right, that is our tree. As you can see, to this day, it's still leaning on the house. And these are close-up photos of it. Now, it's key to look at this one, especially on the window. If you look on the bottom right window, that's actually insulation that has been penetrated from the roof line into the house. And because whenever it rains or we have bad storms, it's actually washing the insulation from the attic into the home. And again, this is because of the tree line actually puncturing the roof and the ceiling inside the interior of the home. This right here, very crucial to pay attention to when you get an opportunity to come back and look at the picture on the right with the circle. If you can pay attention to the lines of the brick, and you can see that those lines at one point in time were actually parallel. That's about a 4-inch separation. And if you look on the left, you can actually see a gap at the bottom of the foundation wall. That's where the foundation is actually splitting, and that portion of the house on the right is actually sinking, and that's where the biggest split is occurring at this time. Right here, this is in that same area where the tree is. Again, you can see the gaps in the wall. That's about the size of a tennis ball on the left picture at the top right of the window. That is direct opening into the home. That is a split from the brick from the framing members, again, caused by the apparent sinking of the foundation. Now we've entered into the home. As you can see, there's quite a bit of stuff still in the house, which, mixed in with, again, on the picture on the right is the loft area on the second floor. And what's key to note about this is not even where the tree hit. This is actually on the other side of the house, which wasn't even impacted. The reason you're having failure here is because the failure of the structure is now spreading throughout the entire house. This is actually in the room right underneath the tree. You can see the sunlight beaming through the ceiling right there, again, and the insulation, which is from the window that you saw from the first photo. We are getting, it's hard to tell because of lack of light in this room, but we are having, when it rains, it's actually ponding water right there. There was also quite a bit of feces in this room from what we believe to be, whether it's rats, possums, dogs, cats. We don't know. We didn't see it at the time of the visit, but again, feces throughout the house. This is about the middle of the house. Again, it's key to understand these cracks you're about to see are throughout the entire home. This is not in the area that was impacted, which is a major cause for concern because these cracks are being seen throughout the house. That tells us that the entire structure is actually being affected at this time. This room also is not in the area that was impacted by the tree. Again, a cause for concern because these are on the opposite ends of the house where the tree did not strike, but yet this is where the biggest failures actually are occurring. Again, a sign that the structure itself is being impacted. On the middle and the top right, the middle one's a little hard to tell, but the top right, you can tell that there's actually gaps. What's happening is more sections of sheetrock are actually starting to pull away from the framing members of the house, which at some point we fully expect that these sections of sheetrock will probably collapse and fall as well. Also keep in mind that this is now exposed in the attic and having the insulation drop down, which is going to let all that heat, humidity into the house, and the house is no longer sealed. Again, you got the water, moisture, now we're having heat, humidity, no ventilation, no air movement in the house, cause for concern. That's a structural beam through the living room, right by the chimney. If you pay attention to the middle photo, again, you'll see a gap on the right, and then the crack that's going vertical right underneath the main beam, that is a structural beam that is holding up the ceiling load. And as you can see, that structure is felling all the way down through the sheetrock. These are more photos of, again, all areas of the house, whether it be the kitchen, that's the front door you see right there with a vertical crack over the doorway, over the head by the header. These are all signs that we're having areas throughout the entire house. 100% of the house. I don't think we saw a single room that didn't have a sign of failure from the sheetrock. Another area, this is one of the biggest separations we saw where the sheetrock was still hanging, the picture in the middle. That's a huge crack. Again, that is a major shift in the framing members, which is causing the sheetrock to split. If you pay attention to the picture on the right, this is our chimney or our fireplace. That is about a 4.5 to 5 inch gap going all the way up. That is just a brick facade that at some point, if it continues to shift, will probably collapse as well. Again, a sign that we're having failure throughout the entire house for the structure. This picture is actually the furthest most point away from where the tree impacted the house. This is the garage. Again, it's showing signs that the impact is felt throughout the entire house because the failure, the tree falling in the house didn't happen in this area. But again, you can see a major collapse of the sheetrock and the HVAC ductwork. Again, the garage itself is packed full of, it was hard to, material was hard to really access these areas due to the sheer amount of stuff that was stored in the garage. Now, this is the best photo from the outside that we could zoom in on. What you're seeing is about a 4-inch gap, 4 to 6 inch gap where the roof line shouldn't be separated. Those are supposed to be in contact. It's actually pulling away to the left. This is from the front street of the house. This is a sign that not only is the separation happening at the bottom end of the house, but it is now being felt all the way to the vertical, the highest point of the house, that the house is actually starting to split and separate. Summary findings. Per our city ordinance and the authority granted to the commission, if 50% more of a building is damaged, decayed, or deteriorated, it will be ordered demolished or removed, unless the commission determines that the building can be feasibly repaired or the condition remedied. Now on to our staff, our recommendation. We order that the property to remain vacant and secured until it's been brought into compliance with city codes and a full certificate of occupancy is obtained. We also order that the removal of all exterior and interior debris by June 25th of 2025. We order the owner, mortgage, and lien holder to obtain a demolition permit and have the entire structure demolished by July 28, 2025, unless the following conditions are met. The owner and mortgage or lien holder must retain a licensed structural engineer to perform a structural assessment and submit all structural documentation necessary to obtain a construction permit by July 11th, 2025 for all prescriptive repairs. They must also submit a complete permit application and restore the structural integrity based on the engineer's recommendations by September 9th of 2025 to include destabilization and repair of the sinking and splitting foundation, the reconstruction or reinforcement of compromised framing members, and sealing of all roof and wall penetrations. BSC will be asked to hold a compliance hearing on August 13th, 2025. The witnesses that are here tonight to discuss this, myself, Nicole, Ornita, Lily is not here, but all three of us that are here have visited the property. We actually went inside the property as well, so we all can speak on what we saw. Trish?
This is my side now.
Oh, Kelly?
That's me.
Yes.
Yeah. So the staff presentation having been completed, I now call the property owner or representative and make comments and present whatever evidence that the property owner desires related to the property at 2627 Ferry Landing. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak regarding this property? Having found nobody, I now close the public hearing on the property located at 2627 Ferry Landing and open up the meeting for consideration and discussion by the commission. Is there any discussion by the commission on this item? Any questions for staff?
Are you guys in contact with the homeowner or the heirs? Are they willing to do some of these repairs? And are they communicative like on a regular basis?
Hi, good evening. No, they aren't. We had established contact with several different family members who resided within the residence over the period of time, but they stopped communicating with us around the end of last year. A notification was sent to them regarding this meeting, and we have not heard or received any responses back.
Anything from the lien holder?
No, nothing from the lien holder as well. And there's no mortgagee on the property.
Is there any communication with the homeowners association?
The homeowners association is the actual lien holder. They were sent notification of this meeting, and we have not received any communication back from them. An attempt was made to reach them today to see if anyone was going to be here to represent, and we did not receive a response.
Okay.
So is it considered just an abandoned building at this point?
Pretty much at this point it is, since we're not able to pinpoint a responsible party. The property has not been probated. So there's no one who is assuming that role, even though there are family members. So all the notification was also addressed to any unknown heirs, so that they would be aware of what was going on with the property if they so choose to respond or reach out to us.
And so if we go forward and we vote to act on your recommendations, what happens? Who, does the city do it and then put a lien on the property for repairs or demolition or what?
If that's the commission's order, yes, ma'am, that is the process that we would go through. If the commission were to order the city to step forward and do any abatement or remediation or demolition of the property, then that process would follow placing a lien on it.
Thank you.
At this stage, how the property is being maintained? Any person responsible for that one, or the city is doing it?
No, at this time, aside from the city's activity during the community service event, the only maintenance that has been ongoing has been the mowing. And we're under the impression that the community association has handled that. We have not been able to confirm that they are the ones mowing it. But before that, for previous violations in the past during the time when it was occupied, various family members were addressing those violations as they surfaced.
Have you received any complaints from the neighbor about the condition of the?
Yes, We received complaints based on the condition of the house and for the term that it's been there empty, abandoned with no one going in or out.
Other than that, there has been no violence or any robbery or anything reported.
No,
In the-
not that it's been brought to our attention, no.
Okay.
Go back a slide to the staff recommendations, please.
I'm looking for now, sorry.
Does commission have any other questions? Tricia, can we go ahead and go through the checklist on the findings?
Yes, please.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna, thank you, Anita.
Mhm.
Be it remembered that on June 11th, 2025, the City of Sugar Land's Building Standard Commission conducted a public hearing regarding the structure located at 2627 Ferry Landing, Sugar Land, Texas, 77478, legal description, the Highlands, Section 1, Block 4, Lot 83-84. After considering the evidence presented, the commission finds the structure is safe or unsafe?
Unsafe.
Okay. An unsafe, dangerous structure based on standards set forth in section 3-190A subsections S. So we're going to go through 1 through 9. Agree or disagree, one or more walls or vertical structure members lean, list, or buckle to such an extent that the plumb line passing through the center of gravity falls outside the middle of the third of its base.
Yes.
Exclusive of the foundation, the structure has 33% or more damage or deterioration to the supporting member or members, or 50% of damage or deterioration to the non-supporting enclosure of the outside walls or coverings. Structure has improperly distributed load upon the floor or roof, or an overloaded floor or roof, or a floor or roof with insufficient strength to be reasonably safe for the purpose used. The structure or any part thereof has been damaged by fire, wind, or other cause to such an extent that it has become dangerous to public health, safety, and welfare of the occupants or the people of the city. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Structure is in a state of dilapidation, decay, unsafe, or unsanitary conditions.
Agree.
Structure does not have adequate light, air ventilation, or sanitation facilities to protect the health, safety, or general welfare of human beings occupying the premises.
Agreed.
Structure or any part thereof has inadequate means of egress in case of fire or panic, or insufficient stairways, elevators, or fire escapes. Structure has 2 or more violations of any provisions of this code or applicable codes, or a single violation that poses an imminent threat to life or property. Structure has been left unsecured from unauthorized entry to the extent that it may be entered or utilized by vagrants as a place of harborage, or may be entered or utilized by children as a play area. Okay, so pretty much everything. Tricia, we go on to the next one then?
So all of them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Having found the structure to be unsafe, the commission also finds that the structure is not occupied, is unsecured, and must be boarded up. Does the commission find that the property is completely boarded? The staff, I'm sorry.
Yes, we did have to remove a section of the boarding so that we could enter into the structure.
Okay, so it is.
And we did place it back up, so
Okay, so it
as
is.
far as we are aware, it is currently secured.
Okay,
I'm sorry, the only aspect that we do have some concern about is the section of the rear yard with the tree that is leaning against the structure. That area is open to the public because that entire section of fence fell down.
Tricia, how do we move forward with staff recommendations, basically that the commission's determined that the structure is unsafe?
So are you referring to, is it feasible to repair or not repair?
So, well, I mean, the staff recommendation was that to allow time for somebody to come forward and repair.
So is the structure feasible to repair?
So our recommendation is that we want it demolished unless they can come forward by the July 11th with a report from a structural engineer stating that the structure itself can be saved.
So is it feasible to repair?
At this time, without having a structural engineer sign off on that, staff can't state without a shadow of doubt that it is.
Go ahead.
Right.
So I'm just curious, and I don't know if we're allowed to even know this, but I'm curious of the cost to the city of like prolonging this. Like if we've already determined that the structure can probably be demolished, can we just skip through the rest? Or is this like a legal formality that we have to at least give them, even though they haven't been in contact at a certain period of time?
That's this body's.
Yeah. Well, basically, number 3, according to what I'm hearing from staff, number 3 is may feasibly be repaired so it's no longer in violation of the city's dangerous structure ordinances. What I'm hearing from staff. I mean, you are not structural engineers. It's not your
Exactly.
job to determine that, but we do have, we still are in that it could be repaired.
If a structural engineer came forward and had a prescriptive repair, a recommendation, then we would accept that. But we ourselves can't state that. What it would take for an engineer to sign off on that would probably require having to open up all the walls, dig around the foundation. It would probably require a substantial amount of work. So again, without doing all that, the city couldn't, without a shadow of doubt, say it can be saved. It would take more work to be able to come to that conclusion.
Okay. So we're basically, do y'all agree then, number 3 on our list is may feasibly be repaired?
I think feasibly be repaired.
Well,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've seen worse, unfortunately.
Okay.
So it is then there ordered that the owner, mortgagee, or lien holder shall demolish, remove, or repair the structure within X days in accordance with the schedule below. Would we not go with number 4 on the back page, then, Tricia?
Yes, are you wanting them to repair or demolish? So we need to choose. The structure needs to remain vacant, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So can you,
I got a question. I saw the estimate of $323,000. Who came up with that estimate?
I didn't hear that. Repeat that, please.
The estimate is shown in the slides, about $323,000 for the repairs. Who came up with this estimate?
So
Is it city's estimate?
Oh, wait.
320,000? Yeah, $320,255. That's the market value.
That's just-
that is the current valuation listed on the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District
Okay,
website.
so we don't have any estimate for how much it's going to cost to repair.
That's not up to them to determine.
It still would be the engineer, right? Engineer. 6 months.
Okay, so staff recommendation is basically that X number of days to somebody come forward to repair, or staff recommendation is if no one comes at that time to demolish the house. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay,
By the deadlines, which we'll get back to that slide, but yes, to either have it demolished, they could choose to demolish it, because the owner themselves could choose to demolish it. Or if they don't take any of the actions and it sits vacant, then our recommendation would be for y'all to decide to have it demolished.
This also gives the lien holder, the HOA, an opportunity to determine what they want, what is feasibly an option for them as well.
basically 30 days.
so I guess the question is, is that the recommendation for today is to be demolished or repaired?
Well,
And
it's-
then we have compliance. At that point, you can make another
the
recommendation.
recommendation is that somebody step forward within 30 days and
Okay.
pull the permits, repair the home, start to repair the home. And they're not gonna get everything done in 30 days.
And we didn't recommend to have
Yeah.
it done. We actually stated that we just wanted to obtain, first submit the recommendation from the structural engineer to obtain the necessary construction permit by July 11th for the repairs. Not to have it completed, but to at least show that they've started the process and they have a plan of action that could save it. Something, an engineer stating with his letter of recommendation to the city, stamped by the engineer stating that it can be saved.
So with all that, Tricia, where is that on?
So what we need to do is are you ordering that the property needs to be remained vacant?
Correct.
Right? Okay, so let's check that box. Then are you requiring them to secure the property? And how long do they have to secure the property?
I think the property is already secured at the moment.
The backyard is of a concern because there isn't a permanent fence at this point. City staff had to put up a temporary orange fence to be able to try to secure the backyard. So keep in mind that at this point in time, again, even though they can't get into the property, if there was a collapse of the house, which again is a reason why we've recommended to demolish at a certain point as well, is that the area that could collapse, especially if it's a house, is on the open side of the property, which is by a public right of way, the sidewalk. It's not secured in the backyard.
So then we need to secure the structure from any unauthorized. So number 2. Okay,
Are you still wanting them to give them 30 days?
I think commission, what do you think?
30 days.
I think we'll abide by the timeline that they presented. I'm okay with that. You guys are.
What's that timeline for secure?
30 days notice.
Okay,
So we stated that it needed to remain vacated and secured. I do want to point out that this says secure the structure. So if we're wanting to secure the property, I don't know, Trish, if we need to specify that a little bit more because the building itself is secured at this point in time.
Shouldn't we try to get
Property,
the property
secure the property.
secured quicker than 30 days because it's dangerous?
Yes, we should.
That's up to the commission.
What is a reasonable amount of, typically do we do?
Well, we have instances where jobs are under construction, and typically a good way to secure it is a simple chain link fence that you could put around the property. If the commission's recommendation is to secure the property, we would immediately notify that they need to put a site fence up to not only secure the backyard, but to secure the house itself. That way, you can't even get in close proximity to the house, just in case there was a failure. You could put a buffer between the sidewalk and the house itself with the site fence if you wanted. Site fence is very easy. It can be put up in a very short amount of time.
Three-
the property is,
If the property owner were to come forward to comply, yes.
I mean, the property is unsafe, and if anybody, that brick can come down,
Yeah.
as stated. I agree with that. We can do 5 days.
Okay.
So secure the property within 5 days from today. Okay. How do we move forward with the rest of staff recommendation?
I believe that you're saying that they wanted to repair within 30 days, right?
Pull permits within,
Again, to repeat, it would be, hold on. It would be either demolish, which again, keep in mind, they could choose to demolish, or they would need to submit a structural engineer letter with a prescriptive repair and obtain proper documentations by July 11th. So 30 days to not complete the project, just to submit documentation. We're not even asking for approval, we're asking for the submittal to show that they've started the process.
okay.
So the recommendation would be to obtain a demolition permit and demolish the structure by July 28th, correct?
If the property owner or lien holder chose to demolish.
Or you're saying that it's, needs to obtain construction permit by July the 11th?
They need to apply.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault. I misread that. It wasn't just to submit, it was to obtain the permit.
Okay,
That's my apologies. I misread that, yes. So to submit and obtain approval for repairs.
So so the date for the deadline would be 7/28/2025 to obtain demolition permit and demolish the structure. That would be the deadline.
no, 7/11.
I'm sorry.
I thought you said 7/28, it's 7/11, July 11th.
Well, it depends. If they chose to demolish and they chose that route, again, we're giving them options.
Okay.
If they came in, because they're well within the right, like other property owners, to demolish their structure, if they chose to demolish, they would have to still obtain a permit
Mhm.
and then have it completed by July 28th. If they chose the route of wanting to try to repair the property, then it would be the steps of first obtaining the permit approval, but by July 11th. And then the next phase would be actually restoring structural integrity based on the engineer's recommendations by September 9th.
Yes.
So by the, July the 11th, they must submit a report from the engineering assessment.
And have it submitted for approval and have it approved. So,
Permits.
so that's just one caveat of it, right? So the biggest part of their permit application will be that prescriptive repair by the engineer and then submitting that documentation and having it approved. Part of that other approval is having a contractor that signs off on stating that they have the insurance and they're going to be the one doing the repairs, right? Like there's a couple of different phases of the permit application. Someone actually has to submit it. A contractor has to put his insurance on file, stating he has some minimum insurance requirements, and then having the proper documentation approved by staff. So everything that falls under the approval process.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I have two things down. By July 28th of 2025, obtain a demolition permit and demolish the structure. And if we were to repair it, it's gonna be, by July the 11th, 2025, we must submit a structural assessment by a structural engineer, correct?
By July 11th, having that as part of their submittal approval, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Tricia?
That's it. And then,
This, you are saying both things together, demolition permit and demolish the structure on the same date. How could that happen?
Repeat that one more time. I
The
apologize.
first thing, order the owner mortgage, obtain a demolition permit and demolish the structure by July. So when does he obtain the permit for?
He just has to have both those steps completed by July 28th. You can apply for a demolition permit and have it approved.
Okay, so
way
demolition
prior.
can be
Yes,
done.
it's just both those key things, not just demolish, because you have to have a permit for the demolish, is to obtain the demolished permit and have it demolished by
So
July
it
28th.
can be demolished after 28th if he has got the permit.
Well, it needs to be demolished by the 28th. But he can get the permit from, from tomorrow, he could apply for demolish.
But you are saying in both in the same time, demolish and permit and demolish by the same day.
No, it says by.
You can obtain the.
Early.
You can obtain.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
not to
we have
have,
to
it's
know.
not to have the permit on the same day. It's just saying by July 28th, you have to have obtained the permit and have it demolished. Both steps of that process. Maybe it's just the way the wording's coming off, but it's not that you're doing them the same day. It's just you're having both completed by that date.
So you are going to wait till 28th to find out whether he's looking for a permit or then we are looking.
We'll know way prior in advance. Before we get to the 28th, if nothing's been applied for in our system, we can monitor that. We can keep track and know if any action's been taken. We'll know way prior to that if he's applied for a demolition permit.
Because you don't even know who the owner is, so.
okay. So
Good.
this is what I have. So then I can repeat back to the commissioners. So maintain the to maintain the property, it has to maintain, it has to be vacant. Secure the property from unauthorized entry within 5 days, to repair within the structure within 30 days. So here's the timeline. By July the 11th, 2025, submit a structural assessment from a structural engineer for prescriptive repairs. Or by July 28th of 2025, obtain a demolition permit and demolish the structure.
The wording on that, Trish, I would just say by July 11th, it's not just obtaining the documentation from the engineer, that obtaining the documentation from the engineer and having an approval for construction. Next to Trish would be to note that the structural integrity, if they choose to go the route of the construction permit, is to have the engineer's recommendations completed by September 9th. So it's key to understand that if we go that route, not only are we asking for the approval construction documents, that's phase 1, but then by September 9th, so they have from July 11th till September 9th to have actually completed the structural recommendations by the engineer.
That's specifically just a stabilization, not.
Yeah, we didn't ask for the approval of the permit because understanding like if they have to open up the walls, there could be like finishing work. We're just mainly asking that at that point, if they reach that, by that date, we will have received a letter and done inspections on the property to state that it's structurally safe. Then they would be allowed more time, and that would fall into our normal timeline of what a permit is active for, which is 180 days, that they can complete, like, let's say, adding the lights and the plumbing fixtures, whatever else would go along with that remodel. This would fall under a remodel permit. That's the classification. And they just need to have it not complete, just the structural integrity completed by that night. At that point, we would know that at least it's a safe structure. It's just at that point, a normal remodel project.
Yes, understand.
Okay, so I have submit structural assessment from a structural engineer for prescriptive repairs and obtain an approved construction permit, or obtain a demolition permit or demolish the structure by July 28th. If they're going to restore, going to repair it, they must restore the structural integrity based on the engineer recommendation by September 9th, 2025. Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And then there is a compliance hearing on August 13th.
Any other questions from the commission? I'd like to go ahead and get a motion to approve based upon the recommendations just stated by the city attorney. Ms. Goldberg, for approval.
Second. Machines.
Get that?
So do we have a motion?
Motion, yeah, we had motion to,
And second, who was the second?
Second.
Oh, okay.
okay, all those in favor? Aye? Okay. Perfect. Thank you, staff. Any other things to consider, Tricia? Otherwise, we go for a motion to adjourn. You got anything else? Okay. let's go.
Second? Do we have a
Ms.
second?
Gomez, do we have a second?
The second.
Second. And hand vote. Everybody approve? Being adjourned. Thank you, staff, for